The court said, and the prosecution may call its next witness.
Ms. Murray said, "Thank you, Your Honor." The government calls Christine Frosini.
The law clerk said, "Please raise your right hand."
Witness sworn.
The law clerk said, "Please be seated."
The court said, "Please state your name and spell it."
The witness said, Christine Frosini. Christine, Frosini, Frosini.
The court said, "You may inquire."
Christine Frosini, called as a witness by the government, having been duly sworn, testified as follows. Direct examination. By Ms. Murray.
Good afternoon, Ms. Frosini.
Good afternoon.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a broker associate.
If I could ask you to speak into the microphone. If you could just pull it towards you.
I'm a broker associate for Prominent Properties Sotheby.
And what is Prominent Properties Sotheby?
Real estate firm.
How long have you been a realtor?
For 22 years.
What sort of properties do you buy or sell?
Mostly residential.
What types of clients do you have?
All sorts. I have first-time buyers, repeat buyers, all different levels.
What geographic area do you work in?
Bergen County.
And in what state is that?
New Jersey.
Were you involved with the purchase of the property located at 675 Ramapo Valley Drive in Mahwah, New Jersey?
Yes.
What is the name by which you know that property?
Crocker Mansion.
Ms. Murray said, Ms. Loftus, if we could please pull up for the witness Government Exhibit 134. Ms. Frosini, do you recognize Government Exhibit 134?
Yes.
What is it?
Crocker Mansion in Mahwah, New Jersey.
Ms. Murray said, Your Honor, the government offers Government Exhibit 134.
Ms. Shrofa said, Your Honor, may I just ask one question?
The court said yes.
Ms. Shrofa said, Thank you.
Voir dire examination. By Ms. Shrofa.
You didn't take the photograph, right, Ms. Frosini?
The witness said, No.
Ms. Shrofa said, Thank you very much. No objection, Your Honor.
The court said, It is admitted.
Government's Exhibit 134 received in evidence.
Ms. Murray said, If we could publish that, please.
By Ms. Murray.
And if you could describe for the jury, please, Ms. Frosini. What part of the Crocker Mansion are we looking at the front of this picture?
This is the front of the estate.
And so if you could describe where, if at all, one would approach the mansion, based on this photo.
This is the front of the estate where you have a circular drive.
Ms. Murray said, and Ms. Loftus, we can take that down. If we could now put up, for the witness only, please. Government Exhibits 145 and 146. Starting on the left with 145, Ms. Frosini, do you recognize what's depicted in Government Exhibit 145?
Yes, that's the entryway from Ramapo Valley Road to the estate.
And looking on the right at Government Exhibit 146, do you recognize what's depicted in that exhibit?
You know, the house is kind of small there, but it looks like the property.
Which property?
The property of Crocker Mansion.
Ms. Murray said, Your Honor, the government offers Government Exhibits 145 and 146.
Ms. Shrofa said, May I just, Your Honor?
The court said you may.
Voir dire examination. By Ms. Shrofa.
Ms. Frosini, you didn't take these photographs either, correct?
No.
Ms. Shrofa said, I have no objection.
The court said, They are admitted.
Government's Exhibits 145 and 146 received in evidence.
Ms. Murray said, If we could please publish, Ms. Loftus. And now that the jury can see it, Ms. Loftus, on the left. On Government Exhibit 145, could you please zoom in on the plaque that is shown?
And Ms. Frosini, could you please read what's on that plaque?
Crocker Mansion, 675, Ramapo Valley Road.
Ms. Murray said, Thank you, Ms. Loftus. We can take that down.
Ms. Frosini, what was your role, if any, in the purchase of the Crocker mansion?
I represented the buyer.
And again, if you could just pull the microphone straight in front of you.
I'm sorry.
Acoustics are tricky here. Thank you. Who was the buyer that you represented?
The buyer was Taurus Fund.
Approximately when did your involvement with this real estate purchase begin?
November 27th, 28 of 2021.
And who was your primary contact for the buyer, the Taurus Fund?
An attorney called Aaron Mitchell.
Did you know Aaron Mitchell before this real estate deal had started?
No. Actually, the call came in from Sotheby's International. And they had answered that incorrectly.
And when you say the call came in, can you describe what you mean by that?
Yes, the Aaron Mitchell contacted Philip White, who's the CEO of Sotheby's International Real Estate. And Philip White contacted the co-owner of Prominent Properties Sotheby's to tell him that he had a client that wanted to see a couple of homes. And then I was called in on it to help the buyer.
Did there come a time when you had a discussion with Aaron Mitchell regarding his interest in purchasing a property?
They contacted me to tell me the properties they were interested in seeing.
And what properties, if any, did you discuss with Mitchell during that initial conversation?
The two properties that they wanted to see, which was Crocker Mansion and another property in Hyde Park, New York.
Ms. Murray said, Ms. Loftus, if we could please put up and publish Government Exhibit 128.
Ms. Frosini, do you recognize the individual depicted in Government Exhibit 128?
It looks like Aaron Mitchell.
Ms. Murray said, thank you, Ms. Loftus. We can take that down.
Ms. Frosini, in order to show those two properties you mentioned, what, if anything, did you need from Aaron Mitchell?
I needed proof of funds. When you show properties at that level, the sellers require proof of funds from the buyer.
And what do you mean by proof of funds?
Proof of funds basically is that the buyer can afford the property and it either comes in the format of a letter from the buyer's attorney or some people provide bank accounts and they blank out the bank numbers.
And did Aaron Mitchell provide you with proof of funds?
Yes.
Ms. Murray said, Ms. Loftus, if we could please show the witness what's marked as Government Exhibit 1100. If we could just flip through a few of the pages, please.
Ms. Frosini, what is this Government Exhibit, Government Exhibit 1100?
What?
What information is contained in this exhibit?
Right here is a copy of the listing for Crocker Mansion.
And flipping through the remaining pages of this Government Exhibit, is it fair to say that this is your file from the deal for the Crocker Mansion?
Yes, the executed contract. That's the executed contract where both parties signed.
The court said, Ms. Frosini, if you would draw the microphone close to your mouth so that we can hear you.
The witness said, I'm sorry,
The court said, you can move closer and move the chair closer.
Ms. Murray said, Your Honor, the government offers Government Exhibit 1100.
The court said, any objection?
Ms. Schrofa said, No, Your Honor.
The court said, it is admitted.
Government's Exhibit 1100 received in evidence.
Ms. Murray said, Ms. Loftus, if we could please publish Government Exhibit 1100 at page 63. And we can zoom in on the top portion.
By Ms. Murray.
Ms. Frosini, what is this?
Yes. That's the proof of funds.
And what is the date on this letter?
November 25th, 2021.
Who sent this letter?
Aaron Mitchell.
Looking at the top left. What is the name that's associated with the letterhead on this letter that Aaron Mitchell sent?
Lowell and Mitchell, LLC.
And what does the subject line or the regarding line read for this letter?
Family Trust Real Estate Purchase.
If I could ask you now to read the main paragraph of this letter, starting with this firm.
This firm represents Gov't and her family trust and has done so for many years. I am aware of Ms. Gov's financial wherewithal and can confirm that she is in funds to purchase real estate in cash in an amount she determines, up to the full asking price of the property she currently wishes to view and, further, That such funds shall be held in escrow by this firm to complete any transaction entered into by Ms. Gov't or her designated entity. I trust this is sufficient, but should you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact me.
Ms. Frosini, at this time did you know who Megwa was?
No.
Today, do you know who Megwa is?
I've met her.
Who is she?
The daughter.
The daughter of whom?
Of Mr. and Mrs. Gov't.
What, if anything, did you understand Megwa's involvement to be with this real estate purchase?
To purchase the home.
How, if at all, was Megwa involved in the purchase?
Excuse me?
How, if at all, was Megwa, the daughter, involved in the purchase?
Ms. Shrofa said, asked and answered, Your Honor.
The witness said, I met her.
The court said, overruled. You may answer.
The witness said, I'm sorry?
The court said, go ahead.
I met Ms. Gov't once or twice at the house, Crocker Mansion.
And this letter refers to the property she currently wishes to view. What property, if any, is that referring to?
So this was used to view Hyde Park and Crocker Mansion.
And did there come a time when you showed those two properties to members of the Gov't family?
Yes.
Which property did you show first?
Hyde Park.
Ms. Murray said, we can take that down, Ms. Loftus, for the moment. Can you please describe the Hyde Park property for the jury?
Hyde Park was a unique property that was located on the Hudson River, very modern style.
What was the approximate size of that property?
You know what, I don't recall the square footage of that home.
Would you describe it as a large home?
Not really. I mean, to some it may be large, but, it wasn't huge.
And who, if anyone, went to the showing at the Hyde Park property?
Mr. and Mrs. Gov't, and then there were the driver. I drove myself and met them there. But they had a driver and a couple of security personnel.
Do you know Mr. Govt's first name?
Miles.
And his wife, do you know her name?
No.
Did Megwa attend that showing of the Hyde Park property?
She couldn't, and Aaron Mitchell said she couldn't go.
Ms. Shrofa said, Objection to the hearsay, Your Honor.
The court said, don't say what someone else said. Just answer, did she or did she not attend?
The witness said, I'm sorry.
No.
Did Aaron Mitchell attend that showing?
No.
Can you describe how long the showing took at the Hyde Park property?
Maybe an hour.
During that showing, did you communicate with Mr. Gov't?
A little.
How did you communicate with him?
I introduced myself. We walked through the house with the other brokers. There was always a little bit of a communication. I couldn't understand with the English that well.
In what language did you communicate with Mr. Gov't?
Me? English.
Do you know whether he speaks any other languages?
Chinese. I don't know what dialect.
And Ms. Frosini, do you speak any dialect of Chinese?
No.
Do you understand any dialect of Chinese?
No.
So during the Hyde Park showing, what, if anything, did Gov't say about that property?
Ms. Shrofa said, Objection. It's hearsay.
The court said, overruled. You may answer.
They just really walked through the rooms.
And when you say, they, to whom are you referring?
Mr. and Mrs. Gov't.
When was the second showing of the Crocker Mansion?
After. So from that estate, we went to Mawa, to Crocker Mansion.
Was that the same day?
Yes.
Before we talk about the showing, can you describe the Crocker Mansion for the jury?
Crocker Mansion is an estate, a replica of an estate in England, big estate, on 12 acres.
Ms. Murray said, Ms. Loftus, if we could please publish Government Exhibit 1100 at page 1. Ms. Frosini, what type of document is this?
This is called a listing.
And for which property?
This is for Crocker Mansion.
Ms. Murray said, Ms. Loftus, if we could zoom in on the top portion, please. Looking at the photo here, Ms. Frosini, is that a photo of the Crocker Mansion?
Yes, it is.
And to the right, kind of the first line of text, last LP, do you see that? Ms. Murray said, we could highlight it, Ms. Loftus.
Yes.
What does that refer to?
That means the last listing price, which means, you know. That was the current listing price at that time.
And then looking down several lines, there's original LP. Ms. Murray said, if we could highlight that, Ms. Loftus. Ms. Frosini, what does that refer to?
The original listing price.
And so for the Crocker Mansion, actually, on what date was this report run, looking at the top right?
So looking at the top, this was listed February 16, 2021.
And for that listing, the last listing price was what?
The last listing price was $33 million.
Ms. Murray said, if we could zoom out on that portion, please, Ms. Loftus. And zoom in on the paragraph that begins down the page. Ms. Frosini, can you please read this paragraph from the listing description for Crocker Mansion?
One of the world's magnificent and rare estates. Darlington is an architectural masterpiece located within 25 miles of New York City. Originally constructed in 1907?
Ms. Schrofa said, Your Honor, may we just have her slow down because of the translation, please? Thank you.
The court said, so just speak more slowly, please.
Okay. Originally constructed in 1907, this estate has been meticulously restored, offering approximately 50,000 square feet of spectacular living space and more than 12 acres of marvelous grounds framed by the Ramapo Mountains. 21 bedrooms, 19 plus bathrooms, rare woods, stonework and craftsmanship throughout. Reception rooms of grand proportions include great hall, library, tea room, and formal dining room. Restaurant-style kitchen, movie theater, billiard room, indoor lap pool with spa, massage room, wine room, game room, gym, outdoor pool with cabana, majestic gardens with 2 fountains, tennis court, 8-car garage. Interior design and furnishings by the world's top designers and artisans. For detailed property information, see link on amenity report, added to documents.
And in the first sentence there's a reference to Darlington. What does that refer to?
I'm not the listing agent. So,
do you have an understanding whether this paragraph refers to what you know as the Crocker Mansion?
yes.
Ms. Murray said, Ms. Loftus, can we please go to page 64 of Government Exhibit 1100? Ms. Frosini, what is this document?
This is what's called an amenity sheet, which highlights home features of the home.
Continued on next page. By Ms. Murray.
And focusing at the top of this document, can you read what the bolded text reads?
Welcome to Darlington, 675, Ramapo Valley Road, Mahwah.
And that address, 675 Ramapo Valley Road, that's the address of the Crocker Mansion, correct?
Correct.
If we could zoom in on the top third, please, Ms. Loftus. Are these photos of the Crocker Mansion?
Yes.
Let's go to the next page, please, Ms. Loftus. If we could zoom in a bit so it's easier to see. Ms. Frosini. Generally speaking, what is this?
This is a list of the renovations that the seller did from 2008 to 2018.
I'm not going to go through bullet by bullet. Ms. Loftus, if we could go to the next page, please. And then the next page. Ms. Frosini, generally speaking. What was the extent of the renovations that had been done as of the time of the showing?
Enormous extent.
And what areas of the Crocker Mansion had been renovated at the time of the showing?
The entire home.
So that's 1100 at page 67, can we put that back up? If you could just focus on the very last line of text there. Ms. Frosini, can you read that last line here?
Approximate cost of material and labor performed between 2008/2018 is $19 million.
Thank you, Ms. Loftus. We can take that down now. So turning to your showing of the Crocker Mansion. Who attended that showing?
Mrs. and Mr. Gov't, myself, the seller, the driver, the Gov's driver and a couple security men.
What type of car did the Gov's arrive in for that showing?
I don't remember.
Did you ride with the Gov's to that showing?
No.
Approximately how long did the showing take?
It was longer than Hyde Park. I'm guessing to say over an hour.
What, if anything, did Mr. Gov't say about the Crocker mansion during that showing?
Ms. Schrofa said, "Same objection, Your Honor."
The court said, "Overruled. You may answer."
What, if anything, did Miles Gov't, Mr. Gov't, say about the Crocker mansion during the showing?
Comments about the detail of the home basically.
What are some examples of those comments?
The detail of the millwork of the home and the quality of the home.
Based on your observations during that showing, what impression, if any, did you have of how Mr. Gov't intended to use the Crocker mansion?
Ms. Schrofa said, "Objection."
The court said, "If you'd step up, please."
Continued on next page. At the sidebar,
The court said, "You said based on your observations, how did he intend to use the home? I don't know that she can state his intention other than by what he may have said."
Ms. Murray said, "Right. So it is based on her observations. It's 701 opinion. She's a real estate broker for 22 years. She taken people on showings. The question is whether she formed an understanding during the showing from, as Your Honor said, from what she overheard or what she observed or conversations she had, for example. Whether it was to be a family home, a residence."
The court said, "I would like you to be more specific about observation."
Ms. Murray said, "I can draw that out a little more."
Ms. Schrofa said, "Your Honor, we have a relevance objection."
The court said, "This is very relevant. Ms. Schroff, this is highly relevant as to the purpose of the home."
Ms. Schrofa said, "I know you're ruling against me, but I just want to make my record for a minute." It's fine. Of course, the court's ruling is always fine. I do believe that a real estate agent's impression or observation of why a person is buying a property is actually not relevant. The only relevance here would be nobody's impression. Whether or not the government can prove why he did or did not buy Mawa is something they can prove elsewhere, but not by a real estate agent's impression of what she thinks.
The court said, "What he stated, what he communicated."
Ms. Schrofa said, "But he never stated anything."
The court said, "That has not been established that he stated nothing. He talked about comments about the millwork."
Ms. Schrofa said, "As to the purpose. The purpose of the I don't feel well today, so you're going to have to excuse me. The purpose of the mansion is not impacted at all by the millwork. And also it's again her impression of why he was buying the property is irrelevant. And most importantly here, they've projected that it is Megwa who is the buyer of the property. So it's Megwa's letter they have introduced as the potential buyer of the property."
The court said, "She can comment about statements made to her. Statements she may have overheard that may indicate the intended use of the property. That's my ruling."
continued on next page. In open court. By Ms. Murray.
Ms. Frosini, directing your attention again to the showing of the Crocker mansion, what, if anything, do you recall about what Miles Gov't said about the property during that showing?
Not really any comments, that I love the home or anything like that. Thank you very much. We'll talk it over and get back to you.
What, if anything, did Miles Gov't say during that showing about potential alteration or renovation to the property?
Ms. Schrofa said, "Objection." She's answered to what Miles Gov't said.
The court said, "You may answer."
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
What, if anything, did Miles Gov't say during the showing about potential alterations or renovations to the property?
Nothing. That was the first time that they saw the house.
Now, after the showing of the Crocker mansion, what happened next?
Next was and again, this was 2021, but I don't remember the time, the exact day. But I got a call from Aaron Mitchell that they wanted to proceed with an offer.
They you're referring to, Aaron Mitchell said they want to proceed with an offer. Whom did you understand him to be referring to?
He said his client.
Ms. Shrofa said, "Objection to the hearsay. Objection."
The court said, "Overruled. You may answer."
His client.
And, Ms. Frosini. Generally speaking, how did you communicate with Aaron Mitchell involving the Crocker Mansion deal?
We text and phone calls.
Ms. Loftus, if we can display for the witness what's been marked as Government Exhibit 1101. And if we could scroll through this. Ms. Frosini, what type of document is in Government Exhibit 1101?
These are texts that I received from Aaron Mitchell and my responses. So it's both of our text back and forth.
Ms. Murray said, Your Honor, the government offers Government Exhibit 1101.
Ms. Shrofa said, "Objection. Your Honor. It's hearsay."
The court said, "Overruled. It is admitted."
Government's Exhibit 1101 received in evidence. By Ms. Murray.
Ms. Loftus, if we could please publish this, and we can zoom in on this top portion that's the full screen. Thank you. Ms. Frosini, the name of the contact here at the top of this chat message, can you read that?
Aaron.
And the first message we see here, what is the date of that?
November 27th, 2021.
Now, in these messages are the messages that you sent in blue or in gray.
Blue.
And then the gray messages are from Aaron Mitchell, is that right?
Correct.
If we could go, please, Ms. Loftus, to page 3. So looking at the date here.
November 28th, 2021.
And looking at the bottom message in blue, can you read what that message says? That's from you to Aaron Mitchell?
Wanted to keep conversation going. They can have estate for $28 million furnished. FYI. Original asking price was $39 million, adjusted price to $33 million in June. You can call me later. Thanks.
And the reference in that letter to estate, what is that estate?
Crocker Mansion.
If we could go to the next page, please. Looking in the middle in the gray message from Aaron Mitchell. What does that message read?
The nothing crazy one?
Correct.
Nothing crazy about the property, right? Violent history, stories of haunting, etc.
What was your response to that message from Aaron Mitchell?
Mr. Gov't asked me that about Gov't, no violence that I know of. Call me when you're done with dinner.
What were you referring to here with respect to some conversation you had with Mr. Gov't about Gov't?
Sometimes buyers will ask if there's been any violence in the homes or oddities in the homes.
With respect to Mr. Gov't in particular, what was your conversation with him?
About that question?
Correct.
That I would find out.
What, if anything, did he ask you?
I'm sorry.
What, if anything, had he asked you that's referenced here?
Ms. Shrofa said, "Objection, Your Honor. That's hearsay and it's asked and answered about this exact conversation twice before."
The court said, "Overruled. You may answer."
He asked, if there were any ghost in the house.
When had he asked you that?
When we were at the property, when he saw the property.
And the next message, Ms. Frosini, what is the date of that? It's at the bottom of this page.
November 29th, 2021.
Ms. Loftus, if we can zoom on that message from Ms. Frosini. Ms. Frosini. There's a reference in this message to the foundation. Can you read that sentence? It starts with please let
the foundation know that the owner is putting a detailed package of information together for them to review. I will forward to you tomorrow. It's a lot of detail. I can also go to the town and request to look at the file as well. As far as known cemetery, fires, etc. The answer is no. Chris.
Now, Ms. Frosini, what's the foundation that you're referring to here?
The buyer.
And what was the name of that buyer?
Well, again, the name on the proof of funds was Magwa Family Trust. But the name of the buyer when we're in contract is Taurus Foundation.
And, Ms. Loftus, if we could go to the next page, please. Actually, the following page, excuse me. Ms. Frosini, focusing on your message here, the second message on the page. What date and time was that sent?
December 1st, 2021.
And can you read just the first sentence of that message after, "Hi Aaron"?
Owner asked me to put in writing, so I will put together a contract of sale. Please email me the title of who's purchasing the property along with their address. Can we put 10% right after attorney review concludes, which is usually a 3-day deal? Let me know about closing date. Let me know about closing date. Owners are fine with now December or January. And who is going to be signing this, you?
Now, Ms. Frosini. What were you asking for with the language about the title of who's purchasing the property?
Because I needed to know who the title of the buyer would be on the contract when I write it up.
And what were you asking about in the last sentence when you said, "Who's going to be signing this, you"?
Because we do contracts electronically now. So I needed to know whose name or LLC or whatever it was going to be. I needed to know who that was in order for me to finalize the contract.
And if we could go to the next page, please, Ms. Loftus. Looking at the top. Same date you texted Aaron Mitchell again, and what was his response at 5:47 p.m. on December 1st?
Need to speak to someone in UK repurchasing entity. We'll get back to you tomorrow a.m.
Ms. Frosini, do you know whom Aaron Mitchell was going to speak with?
No.
By this point in the sale, had you heard of Taurus Fund SP?
No.
It continues here. If we could look at the next message from Aaron Mitchell. It says, would it be possible for the father to come back to the house tomorrow, 10 a.m., and meet Vinny as well? Who did you understand the father to be?
Mr. Gov't.
And who did you understand Vinny to be?
He managed the property for the seller.
The next message from Aaron Mitchell begins with, one concern the mother had was the AC was loud. Do you see that?
Yes.
Who did you understand the mother to be?
Mrs. Gov't.
And that's Miles Gov's wife, is that right?
Correct.
If we can go to the next page please, Ms. Loftus. Looking at the second message on this page from Aaron Mitchell, the second gray message on this page.
December 2nd, 2021.
And Aaron Mitchell text, they are 5 minutes out. Who did you understand that to refer to?
The buyers.
And then at 2:59 p.m. that same day, what did you text to Aaron Mitchell?
What did I text?
MMHM. In the blue, if we could highlight that, Ms. Loftus.
FYI, they just left.
Ms. Frosini, do you recall a visit to the Crocker Mansion by the Gov's on December 2nd, 2021?
Yes, we had a visit. I just, the date, again it was 2 years ago, but, yes. We were there.
What happened during that visit?
They looked at the house in more detail.
Can you walk us through what you recall about that visit on December 2nd?
That they went through the house in more detail, every room. And I wasn't with them all the time because I just let the buyers go off, especially when they're there a second time. They want to talk amongst themselves.
And for this visit, who attended? Who were the buyers that came to that visit?
You know what, I don't really remember.
Do you remember whether Mr. Gov't, Miles Gov't, attended that visit?
Ms. Shrofa said, objection, asked and answered.
The court said you may answer.
Yes, and the daughter may have been there that day. I don't remember the days, but, yeah. I don't remember exactly who was there. I mean, Mr. Gov't was there, and I believe maybe the daughter that day. But again, I can't promise it was that day.
Focusing on Mr. Gov't in particular, did you have any discussions with Mr. Gov't that day during that visit?
Casual conversation possibly. Again, there was a language little difficulty. But casual conversation here and there. Again, I didn't walk through the whole entire house with them.
If we could go, Ms. Loftus, to the next page, please. Looking at the top text here from you to Aaron Mitchell, what is the date?
December 3rd, 2021.
Can you read that message?
Aaron, if I were to get seller to agree to 26 closing December 20th, do you think that would work?
What is the 26 here a reference to?
You know what, I'm looking at this myself here. You know what, I don't know.
Looking down a bit further, there's a text from Aaron Mitchell, middle of the page. What information is he requesting about the seller?
Do you have seller's full name so I can put in a letter?
And then a few messages down he sent another text that begins with email. Do you see that?
Emailed you letter. Let me know if you need anything else.
If we could go to the next page, please, Ms. Loftus. This is again the same day, December 3rd. The message from Aaron Mitchell that begins, "Hi, can you read that, please?"
Hi, Chris, do you have the floor plans for Crocker?
And what was your response?
I'll get it. Were they happy with sellers accepting their offer? Seller may want to wait for me to send it until we have the signed contract. I'll let you know.
And what was Aaron Mitchell's response to that text?
They were more focused on getting it ready for their taste, so if I can get them quickly, great.
Miss Frosini, did you have an understanding of who the they was that Aaron Mitchell was referring to?
Yes.
Who?
Again, the buyers.
And who were the buyers?
Ms. Shrofa said, "Objection," asked and answered.
The court said, "Overruled. You may answer."
The buyers were the Gov't family.
Ms. Loftus, we can take that down. If we could pull up for the witness, please, Government Exhibit 1102. If we could scroll through. Ms. Frosini, do you recognize the document in Government Exhibit 1102?
These were the floor plans that were given to me by the seller.
Have you reviewed this exhibit previously?
When I received it.
Are these various documents relating to the Crocker Mansion deal?
Correct.
Ms. Murray said, "Your Honor, the government offers Government Exhibit 1102.
Ms. Shrofa said, "Objection, Your Honor. May we have a sidebar?"
The court said, "Okay."
Continued on next page. At the sidebar,
Ms. Shrofa said, "Your Honor, the document is an email exchange between a person named Gladys Chow and the realtor. There is no relationship or co-conspirator argument that would make these exchanges admissible, and they are written hearsay. So for those reasons, the email exchanges between Ms. Chow and the real estate agent we would object to."
The court said, "What do they say?"
Ms. Shrofa said, "She asks a lot of questions and the real estate agent replies. She asks about furnishings. She asks for recommendation for decorators. She asks for how and who she should use to refurbish the place. There's no hearsay exception to Ms. Chow's interaction with the real estate agent."
The court said, "Who is Ms. Chow?"
Ms. Shrofa said, "Ms. Chow is an employee."
The court said, "Of?"
Ms. Shrofa said, "I believe she's an employee. I'm not sure technically who she is an employee for." "I really think you should not laugh or scoff at me, Mr. Finkel."
Mr. Finkel said, "I'm not laughing at you. I was laughing at your response."
Ms. Shrofa said, "That's the same thing, my response."
Mr. Finkel said, "I apologize, Miss Schroff."
Ms. Shrofa said, "Ms. Chow's communication with the real estate agent are hearsay, and for those reasons we would object."
Ms. Murray said, "Your Honor, Ms. Chow is an agent of Miles Gov't. She is communicating with the real estate agent as she's communicated with various other people on behalf of Mr. Gov't. Asking questions from Mr. Gov't, taking responses back to Mr. Gov't. Indeed. Gladys Chow was on the list of potential attorney-client privilege that defense counsel provided to the government a year ago. Because they said that she was an interpreter in an assistant relationship with Mr. Gov't. She was so close that she might be privy to privileged communication. She is frequently communicating. Not only with Mrs. Frosini, but with various other people, including, for example, Paolo Sozzi, one of the government's anticipated witnesses about additional renovations. And she is conveying information from Mr. Gov't and providing it back to Mr. Gov't. She's clearly an agent and there's an exception."
The court said, "These emails come in. Let's move on."
Ms. Shrofa said, "There's no evidence in the record about the facts that Ms. Murray has recited at sidebar. There's been no testimony to this effect. There's been no testimony about Ms. Chow. There's been no testimony about a potential witness to come, obviously, because the witness has not yet testified. There's no establishment of an agency relationship between Ms. Chow and Mr. Gov't. And the fact that she would be on a privilege could also reflect the fact that she translated for him after his arrest in the jail. So for those reasons, there's been no establishment of an agency relationship between Gladys Chow and Mr. Gov't. Additionally, Your Honor, the government knows this full well because they approached Ms. Chow and sought to speak to her, and she declined. None of this is in evidence, therefore, I continue to object on hearsay.
Ms. Murray said, Your Honor, I certainly intend to ask Ms. Frosini the next question who Ms. Chow was and what the nature was of her interaction with Ms. Chow.
The court said, the email comes in.
Government's Exhibit 1102 received in evidence. Continued on next page. In open court, jury present.
The court said, go ahead.
By Mr. Finkel.
Ms. Loftus, if you can publish what's now in evidence as Government Exhibit 1102. Let's go to page 63. If we could zoom in on this email at the bottom, please. Ms. Frosini, what is the date of this email?
December 3rd, 2021.
And who sent this email?
Aaron Mitchell.
If you could read the email that you received from Aaron Mitchell?
Does this work to show interest intent? Let me know if he wants deposit, etc., or if he is good with the number. His attorney can speak to our attorney handling the closing.
And if we could go to the next page, please, Ms. Loftus, and zoom in on the content portion here. Ms. Frosini, what is this?
This is a letter of intent.
For what property?
4675, Ramapo Valley Road, Crocker Mansion in Moa.
What is the date of this letter of intent?
December 3rd, 2021.
I'm going to read the letter. Thank you for taking the time to show representatives of my client your property at 675 Ramapo Valley Road in Moa, New Jersey. My client has authorized me to formally offer $26 million to purchase the property. This would be a cash deal. Per your request, closing would occur on or before December 20th, 2021. First of all, who did you understand the representatives of my client to be in this letter?
I don't know why he wrote it that way.
This refers to.
Ms. Shrofa said, objection. Move to strike as non-responsive.
The court said, sustained. If you'll read back the question, please, and listen to the question and answer that question.
You said thank you for taking the time to show representatives of my client. I don't know what he means. Aaron Rodgers means by show representatives instead of saying my client or the buyers. Maybe that's his term to say representatives.
Ms. Shrofa said, Your Honor, I move to strike everything after, I don't know what he means.
The court said from maybe I'm striking. Go ahead.
Ms. Frosini, the reference here to showing certain people the property. Whom did you show the property to who was associated with Aaron Mitchell?
Ms. Shrofa said, objection to the leading.
The Gov't family.
The court said, sustained. Who did you show the property to?
The witness said, the Gov't family.
If we could go to Government Exhibit 1102 at page 19, please. Looking at this email at the top. What is the date of this email?
December 6th, 2021.
And what property is this regarding according to the subject line?
675, Ramapo Valley Road.
At the top of the content of the email starting with sent, there's some text in bold and italics. Do you see that?
Yes.
What does that read?
Sent on behalf of Bruce E. Whitaker.
Who is Bruce E. Whitaker?
The seller's attorney.
And looking at the first sentence here, start with attach. What does that read?
Attach is a fully executed contract. Please note that I have made one modification to paragraph 3C, which is to have the deposit held in our trust account. Please have buyer initial this modification.
And if we could go, Ms. Loftus, to page 21. That's the attached contract. Ms. Frosini. If we could focus on item 7 down to the bottom, Ms. Frosini. Ms. Frosini. Who's listed as the seller on this signed contract?
Crocker Mansion Estate, LLC.
And who is the buyer?
Taurus Fund SP.
What did you understand Taurus Fund SP to be?
I don't know. I didn't ask.
In your real estate practice, how often, if at all, are entities the buyers of properties?
Ms. Shrofa said, objection.
The court said, overruled. You may answer.
For significant properties, people they won't put their personal name. It will be either LLCs or trusts.
Do you see the Taurus Fund signature?
Yes.
On this contract. How did you get a signed copy of this contract?
Electronically.
Do you know the corporate structure of Taurus Fund SP?
No.
Looking at the bottom right here, is that your electronic signature on this contract?
Yes.
If we could go to page 18 of this exhibit, Ms. Loftus, and focus on the email from Ms. Frosini. What is the date of this email, Ms. Frosini?
December 6, 2201.
And to whom did you send this?
To Aaron Mitchell.
If you could read the body of this email?
Congrats to the foundation. Attached is a fully executed contract. Please see attorney's note below.
Why did you say, congrats to the foundation?
'Cause I always congratulate the buyer.
Ms. Loftus, we can take this down. If we could please go to Government Exhibit 1101, page 12. Starting at the top message, what is the date of this message, this text message from Aaron Mitchell?
Any luck with the plans? They have called me 3 times today. May and the mother really want to see them. I want to keep them happy.
And looking first at the date of this message, which is just at the top of this screenshot. What was the date that Aaron Mitchell sent you that text message?
December 4, 2021.
Who did you understand May to refer to?
The daughter.
Whose daughter?
Mr. and Mrs. Gw's daughter.
Who did you understand the mother to refer to?
Mr. Gw's wife.
And at the bottom here there's a message from you, the last text from you on this page. It indicates, just emailed you floor plans. Please confirm receipt. And on what date had you emailed Aaron Mitchell the floor plans?
December 4, 2021.
Ms. Loftus, if we could go now to Government Exhibit 1102 page 1, focus on the email. Ms. Frosini. Who sent this email?
Gladys Chow.
Who is Gladys Chow?
Gladys Chow worked with the family. I don't know her exact title.
Just to be clear, which family did Gladys Chow work with?
The Gwa family.
What is the email domain used to send you this message?
Hiketech.com.
Do you know what Hiketech is?
No.
And what's the date of this email from Gladys Chow?
December 6, 2021.
That's about 2 days after the text message of the floor plan?
Ms. Shrofa said, objection to the testifying.
The court said, sustained.
Ms. Loftus, if we could pull up page 12 of Government Exhibit 1101, focusing on the middle here. The blue message from you. On what date did you send these 2 messages to Aaron Mitchell regarding the floor plans to the Crocker Mansion?
December 4th.
And, Ms. Loftus, let's go back to 1102, page 1, please. How many days later did you receive this email from Gladys Chow?
December 6th.
Who is copied on this email?
Aaron Mitchell.
Ms. Frosini, can you read this email?
Hope you had nice weekend. We met the other day in the Darlington tour. And I just have a few more questions. 1. Would you know any interior kitchen designers? Shades and Rugs Company, both New Jersey and New York, that can recommend to us. Number 2. Other than the attached floor plans, do you have any other drawings that can be provided to us? Number 3. I have circled 3 areas on page 3 of the floor plan. If we want to empty each one out and convert each of them into one single room, around how long would that take? Thank you for your help.
Ms. Loftus, we can zoom out of that, and if we could go through the next few pages of Government Exhibit 1102. Stop there for a moment. Ms. Frosini, what is this?
This is a floor plan.
For what property?
675 Ramapo Road.
If you could let us know what part of that property does this floor plan represent?
I don't have my glasses, first floor.
Thank you. We can zoom out of that. Let's go to the next page. What part of the property is this?
Second floor.
And the next page, please?
Third floor.
Now, do you see red boxes on this floor plan?
Yes.
Is it your understanding that those are the red boxes that Ms. Chow was referring to in her email to you? We could go back to the first page, Ms. Loftus. Looking again at item 3 here in Ms. Chow's email, do you see that? Ms. Frosini?
Yes.
Let's go back to page 4, please, Ms. Loftus. Based on that email, is it your understanding that these red boxes indicate a portion?
Ms. Shrofa said, objection to the leading.
What is your understanding of what is indicated by the red box?
I never answered this question because I wasn't involved in any of that.
Understood. Setting aside any response, if any, you might have given to the question. What was your understanding of what the question was?
Ms. Shrofa said, objection, form.
The court said, "Are you asking her whether she sees any relationship between the question and what is on the screen?"
Ms. Murray said, "Yes, Your Honor."
The court said, "You may answer."
I really never commented on this at all.
If we can go to the next page, please, Ms. Loftus. Which part of the house does this reflect, Ms. Frosini?
Basement.
And then the next page, if we could focus on this. Ms. Frosini, this is an email from you, correct?
Correct.
Who did you send this to?
Gladys Chow.
Copying who?
Aaron Mitchell.
What was your reply?
Thanks for your email. I will get names designers to you tomorrow and will call the home manager regarding number 2 and number 3 below.
Who was the home manager?
The home manager was Vinnie LaBarbary.
Let's go to the next page, please, Ms. Loftus. Ms. Frosini, what is Gladys' response to that email that you had sent?
Thank you. It would be nice if you get us some, she said, DWG. I'm thinking drawing files of the home, both 2D and 3D. Thank you.
Ms. Loftus, we can go 2 pages down to page 10, please. Ms. Frosini, what's the subject of this email that you sent?
Floor plans.
What did you provide with this email?
Additional floor plans that I had gotten from the seller.
Ms. Loftus, let's go back down another 2 pages. Looking at this on the kind of top right of our screen. Ms. Loftus, if you could zoom in on what portion of the home this reflects. Zoom out of that. On the top right along the side, what level are these additional floor plans relating to?
Basement level flooring finish plan.
And, Ms. Loftus, if we could go to the next page and similar exercise. This is on the left, bottom left.
Crocker Residence first level furniture floor plan.
And the next page, Ms. Loftus, please. This one is on the bottom left. Which portion of the home are these additional plans relating to?
Crocker Residence second level furniture floor plan.
And the next page, please.
Crocker Residence second level furniture floor plan.
And finally the next page, please, Ms. Loftus.
Crocker Residence third level furniture floor plan.
If we could zoom out of that. Ms. Frosini, how many levels were in the Crocker mansion?
I don't know if I'm mixing. I believe there was above the finish lower level there are 3.
If we could go to the next page, please, Ms. Loftus. Ms. Frosini, what is the subject of this email?
Designers.
And the date?
December 15th, 2021.
Who did you send this to?
Gladys.
At a high level, what did these designs you sent to Gladys do?
I just submitted the list to her.
What type of designers are these?
Interior designers.
All right. Ms. Loftus, let's go down to 2 pages down. Let's zoom out. I think we're looking to go another page down. Let's go back, Ms. Loftus, to Government Exhibit 1101, page 19. These are again from the text messages with Aaron Mitchell. The message at the top with Aaron Mitchell reads, yes. Yvette will be arriving with everyone at noon. Who is Yvette?
Yvette worked with Mr. Gov't.
And then at the bottom here, what is the date of that message if we look at the bottom half of these texts?
December 13th, 2021.
What did you write to Aaron Mitchell on that date?
FYI, everyone is here.
What was Aaron's response?
On my way. Thought we were meeting at noon.
And then your next 2 responses, understanding one is a bit cut off.
So did I. They changed.
And then you write, just spoke to Yvette. Do you see that?
Right. I think it finishes on just spoke to Yvette. They.
Can we go to the next page, Ms. Loftus? Actually, let's go back up 1 page. Ms. Frosini, do you recall a meeting on December 13th, 2021?
We were doing I'm just thinking of when the inspection was. I don't have my notes. I don't know when the inspections were. We had inspections of the home. And then we have structural inspection on another day, and that may have been that day.
And who, if anyone, attended those inspections?
The home inspection, and I may be wrong, the family wasn't there. I was the whole time. Then again, I'm sorry, but I'm just guessing. And then another day we had a structural inspection. And I believe that's when they were there.
Ms. Shrofa said, "Objection, Your Honor, to the guessing."
The court said, so don't guess. Just state what you know.
Ms. Loftus, let's go to page 25 of this exhibit. Ms. Frosini, in the first message from Aaron Mitchell. The first gray message, can you read that message?
My message in the gray?
Sorry, the gray from Aaron Mitchell.
Thanks. Is any time going to be there Thursday, or can someone be there to let Scott in with contractor?
Who is Scott?
Scott was a security position. Don't know his title.
Can we go to the next page, please, Ms. Loftus, focusing on the top portion of this message? Do you see the text message that you sent to Aaron Mitchell there?
Yes.
It reads in part, I sent Gladys per her request a bunch of high-end designers. Let me know if you guys need anything from me. What type of designers had you sent Gladys the names of?
Interior designers.
And let's go to the next page, please. If you could read your first text message on this page to Aaron Mitchell.
I'll meet seller tomorrow morning. In fact, he wanted me to schedule time between architect and principal, when or tonight. Let me know.
Who is principal?
The client, the buyer.
And which individual in particular were you referring to when you wrote principal?
The buyers, the family.
Which family, Ms. Frosini?
The Gov't family.
And then looking down about 2/3 of the way down the page. There's a message from Aaron Mitchell starts with Scott. Can you read that in your response?
Scott will be there at 11.
And what was your response?
Yes, I'm meeting him.
If we could go to the next page, please, and read the top 2 text messages, the first from Aaron Mitchell.
Can the architect and Vinny come to New York to discuss plans?
And then what was your response?
I'll ask when. Just a thought. Don't you think it would be best to meet at the home in case they need to walk the rooms?
And then looking down a bit in this chain on December 17, 2021, the second message from Aaron Mitchell. So the last message from him on this page, what does that read?
Can you send Amy the structural inspection invoice?
Who's Amy?
Amy Buck is the real estate attorney.
What real estate attorney?
She's the one that handled the closing for the buyer.
And let's go to the next page, please, Ms. Loftus. We could zoom in on that. Looking here at the last message on this page from Aaron Mitchell, what does he write to you, starting with did you?
Did you get a receipt for the $1,500?
Can you read that message again? I think you might have missed one of the words.
Did you get Y, the letter Y, a receipt for the $1,500?
Who did you understand? Why to refer to?
Did you get Yvette a receipt for the $1,500?
Let's go to the next page, please, Ms. Loftus. Ms. Frosini, you wrote, Sit revised you and Amy. Aaron Mitchell responded. Then your next message that starts with Aaron. Can you please read that text message?
Aaron, please congratulate the buyers for me. They are so nice and so is their staff. I need to talk to you about what I can do for them to thank them as well. Thanks again, Aaron.
In this message, Ms. Frosini, what individuals were you referring to when you said the buyers?
The Gov't family.
And when you indicated their staff, what staff were you referring to?
The security guys, Yvette.
And those are staff of whom?
You know, I use the word staff. Maybe that was inappropriate. But these are the people that I met through the Gov't family.
And let's look at the next message that you sent. What date did you send? Hi, Aaron.
December 22nd, 2021.
Can you read that message?
Hi, Aaron. Tomorrow, do you have a minute to talk? I'd like to get the buyers something. In the meantime, is it corny to send them a nice holiday beautiful floral arrangement? Being the privacy factor? I don't know if they would want me to send something to their Connecticut home. We can talk tomorrow. Thanks.
Ms. Frosini, did Aaron Mitchell ever respond to that text message?
No.
We can take that down, Ms. Loftus. Ms. Frosini, after the purchase of the Crocker Mansion, do you have any knowledge of any renovations, if any, that were done to the property?
No, I was never there.
Do you know if at all that property was furnished?
No.
Did you have any additional or further contact with Aaron Mitchell?
No.
Did you have any further contact with the Gov't family directly?
After the closing of the house?
Correct.
Maybe about 2 months after.
What was the nature of that contact?
To potentially look at commercial space.
Where was that commercial space?
In Bergen County.
Who, if anyone, contacted you about looking at commercial space?
Aaron Mitchell was the initial contact.
And what happened?
And then I talked to the security, mostly the security guys.
Talk to them about what?
About potential commercial space.
Did there come a time, if ever, when you did a showing of potential commercial space in Bergen County?
Yes, there were a couple of buildings.
Who, if anyone, did you show those buildings to?
To security and Mr. Gov't, just a couple of occasions, but mostly security.
What types of commercial space did you show to security in Bergen County?
Office space.
Did you have an understanding of who was going to use the office space that you were showing?
Whatever business that the family.
Ms. Shrofa said, Objection.
The court said you may answer.
Whatever business, the family needed the office space for. I shouldn't say the family. Mr. Gov't.
Did there come a time when you learned the name of any business that was going to be looking into that space?
No, never did a contract together.
Was there any offer made on any of the commercial space that you showed?
We never put a contract together.
After those interactions, Ms. Frosini, relating to the commercial space, did you have any other contact with the Gov't family?
No.
And after the commercial space, did you have any contact with the Gov't family staff?
The staff.
Ms. Schrofa said, objection to the phrase, Gov't family staff.
The court said, overruled. You may answer.
No, just on the commercial.
But after the commercial showings that you had?
No.
What contact did you have with
The family? No.
Ms. Murray said, may I have a moment, Your Honor?
The court said you may.
Ms. Frosini, based on your interactions representing the buyer of the Crocker Mansion, what was your understanding of why the buyer was purchasing the Crocker Mansion?
Ms. Schrofa said, objection.
The court said, overruled. You may answer.
For their home.
Ms. Loftus, if we could please pull up Government Exhibit Z12 and go to page 19. This is in evidence. Ms. Frosini, looking at the top of this document, top left, what is the name of the company that's in the top left corner in the box of this document?
Ms. Schrofa said, objection. There's no question other than to read the document. That's improper. She can ask a question about the document.
The court said, is the document in evidence?
Ms. Murray said, it is, Your Honor.
The court said, and the question is again.
The name of the entity listed on the top left here?
Ms. Schrofa said, objection.
The court said, overruled. You may answer.
Crane Advisory Group, LLC.
And then the name on the top right in the box?
Top right.
Yes.
Crane Advisory Group, LLC.
And Ms. Frosini, have you seen this document before?
Never.
Looking at the first box in the middle of the page with the yellow outline, do you recognize the name of the entity listed there?
Lowell and Mitchell, LLC.
Do you recognize that company?
Yeah, that's Aaron Mitchell.
And then looking at the bottom here, the three different companies that are listed along the bottom starting at the bottom left, what is that?
McDonnell Whitaker Attorney Trust.
And the middle?
Insight Title Services, LLC Trust.
And the top middle right?
Buck Esquire, LLC Attorney Trust Account.
Are you familiar with the Buck Esquire LLC?
That's Amy Buck, the attorney.
The court said, attorney for whom?
The witness said, the buyer, the real estate attorney, the one that did the real estate transaction.
The court said, go ahead.
Let's go to the next page, please, and focus in on the top portion. Ms. Frosini, do you see the property location listed here? It's under item G.
Property location 675, Ramapo Valley Road, Mahwah, New Jersey.
That's the Crocker Mansion, correct?
Correct.
Looking to the right of that in item H, the settlement agent, who is listed as the settlement agency.
Insight Title Services, LLC.
And looking back over to the left a bit, item D here, name and address of borrower. What's the name and address of the borrower?
Borrower is Taurus Fund, LLC.
And then finally item 101 on the left near the bottom of the screen we're looking at here. What is listed as the contract sales price of the Crocker Mansion?
$26 million.
Ms. Murray said, just a moment again, Your Honor, please. No further questions.
The court said, cross-examination.
Ms. Schrofa said, thank you, Your Honor. Could I actually have that exhibit back up? Thank you.
Cross-examination by Ms. Schrofa.
Could I have the first page of that document? Good afternoon, Ms. Frosini. How are you?
Fine. Thank you.
Ms. Frosini, you were just shown this document by government counsel, correct?
Correct.
And you met with government counsel before today, correct?
Via Zoom.
Zoom or otherwise, you met with her, right?
I met with Micah Ferguson, and the first time I met her on a Friday via Zoom.
Last Friday?
With Micah Ferguson, yes.
And she showed you this document, is that correct?
No.
I'm saying on direct right now she showed you this document?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Asked you to read it, correct?
Correct.
Could you take a look at the document for me, please, again? You've never seen it before, you said, correct?
Correct.
You have no idea whether it's accurate or not, correct?
Correct.
Could you tell me where in the document you see the name Miles Gov't?
I see the name who?
Miles Gov't.
No.
How about May Gov't?
No.
How about wife of Miles Gov't?
No.
How about daughter of Miles Gov't?
No.
How about staff of Miles Gov't?
No.
Ms. Murray said, Your Honor, we stipulate Miles Gov't is not on this document.
The court said, all righty.
So she also asked you about this group called Crane Advisory, correct?
Correct.
When you met with the prosecutors on Friday, did she ask you about Crane Advisory?
No.
Because you don't know anything about Crane, right?
Correct.
And obviously you don't know anything about Hamilton Opportunity Fund, correct?
Correct.
And the only thing you know on here are the people that you worked with, correct?
The two attorneys.
Right?
Correct.
And that's Lowell and Mitchell, right?
Yes, McDonnell Whitaker and Buck Esquire. I don't know Buck Esquire personally, but I know the name.
So we can take that down, please. Now, if I could just go to Government Exhibit 1100. And if I could just have you look. Could I have it made bigger, please? Thank you so much. Could you tell the jury who generated this document?
The listing agent, the seller's agent.
And what's a listing agent?
The listing agent represents the seller.
And where is this document made public? Who sees it?
This was made public via New Jersey Multiple Listing Service.
Like, if somebody wants to buy a house, they see it?
Correct.
And is it like advertisement come by my house kind of thing?
Sure. It notifies the public that the home is on the market.
And it tries to sell the home, right?
Correct.
It highlights the plus points of the property, correct?
Correct.
And if you can avoid it and if it's not required by law. You don't necessarily publish the minus parts of the property, correct?
Ms. Murray said, Objection, calls for speculation.
The court said, overruled. You may answer.
Can you repeat that?
Sure. And if it's not called for by the law, the disclosure is not called for by the law. You don't necessarily highlight the negative aspect of a property, correct?
I mean, if there's something negative, you need to disclose what's on the property. I really don't understand what you're asking.
So say if the third bedroom didn't get any sunlight, you wouldn't put it on this report, right?
Ms. Murray said, Objection, Your Honor, same basis.
The court said, overruled.
You wouldn't put that on.
It's not a highlight of the house, so you wouldn't put that on there.
So you put the highlights of the house on that listing, right?
Correct.
So let's just scroll down for a minute and could we keep going down, please? And here is the description of the property, correct?
Correct.
And you did not prepare this, right?
No, I did not prepare it.
And in talking to you about this property, the government counsel also asked you about a second property, correct?
Correct.
And that was at Hyde Park?
Correct, Hyde Park in New York.
Was that the name of the property or the place?
That's the town.
And do you know the name of that property sitting here today? Do you remember it?
Ledge something, and I can't remember.
Do you know which of the two properties was more expensive?
Ledge.
Ledge was more expensive. The Hyde Park property was more expensive than this one?
Correct.
Can you please keep scrolling down and keep going? If I could just have that made larger. Could I ask you, is this like a standard contract?
The National Association of Realtors. This is the contract that realtors put together when you start negotiating a transaction.
And you use the standard format, right?
Yes.
And if we could scroll down to the signature line, and it's signed here, right?
Yes.
And it's signed on the left side by the seller of Crocker Mansion Estate LLC, right?
Yes.
And who's that?
The seller.
Yeah, but who is Crocker Mansion Estate LLC?
That's the seller's LLC.
You don't know who it is, right? Is there a Mr. and Mrs. Crocker Mansion Estate LLC?
No.
And the buyer is whom here?
Taurus Fund SP.
And you received this document obviously cause you e-signed it below, right?
Correct.
And for all your purposes, the buyer is Taurus Fund SP, correct?
Correct.
It's not Miles Gov't, right?
It's Taurus Fund SP.
And it's not Miles Gov't, correct?
I don't know who it is. I didn't ask. I just prepare the contract and it goes to the attorneys.
Right. But it doesn't say Taurus, Miles Gov't, right?
Ms. Murray said, asked and answered.
The court said, sustained.
It says Taurus Fund SP. I don't know who's included in the fund.
You knew a fund was purchasing it, correct?
When I asked the attorney who to write the contract, I was told to put Taurus Fund SP.
If somebody wants to sell this property now, the only seller could be Taurus Fund SP, right?
I'm not an attorney. I don't know. If they changed the name, I don't know.
I'm telling you if that document remained in place.
Right.
The only person that could sell it, entity that could sell it, is the Taurus Fund SP, right?
Right.
And you reviewed this document and sent it back to whom?
I sent this document to once the buyer sells this document, then it goes to the seller to sign. And then it goes directly to the attorney.
Whose attorney?
It goes to both attorneys, the seller's attorney and the buyer's attorney.
And is it you who sent it to both the buyer's and the seller's attorney?
I distribute to the seller's attorney and buyers, yes.
You sent it to both the seller's attorney and buyer's attorney?
No, I think I just sent it to the buyer. Sometimes what we do if we're representing the buyer. We send it to the buyer's attorney. The listing agent who is representing the seller who then sends it to the seller's attorney. But they both get this contract.
And once they both get the contract, are you essentially done with your part of the job?
Yes, the only thing yes, they disapprove of the contract and they put the writers together. And my only part after that is to schedule the inspections.
Who files the title of the property?
The court said, all right. It is now 2:30. We're now going to take half an hour break. You may step out. Don't discuss your testimony. We'll resume at 3 p.m. Remember, don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Don't permit others to discuss it in your presence. Don't read, listen or watch anything from any source that touches on the subject of this trial.
The law clerk said, jury exiting.
Jury not present.
The court said, you may be seated. Is there anything before we resume?
Ms. Murray said, not from the government, Your Honor.
Ms. Schrofa said, no, Your Honor. Thank you.
Recess. Jury not present.
The court said, please have the jurors brought in.
Jury present.
The court said, please be seated. Remember, Ms. Frosini, you're still under oath.
The witness said, yes.
The court said, you may continue the cross-examination.
Ms. Schrofa said, thank you, Your Honor.
By Ms. Schrofa.
Ms. Frosini, you had deep experience in the real estate market in Mawa, correct?
Correct.
And did you live yourself? I don't need an address or anything, but did you live in that vicinity?
Yes.
And had you sold property there before?
In Moa?
Yes.
Yes.
And would it be fair to say, in fact, that you were chosen to make the sale when they identified this particular property that was of interest to them?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Ms. Schrofa said, okay. If I could just pull up just for the witness and me Defense Exhibit 60612. Now do you know what the National Register of Historical Places is?
Again, I'm not the listing agent, but the home, because of its historic being, was registered. But I don't know into what registries.
And could you explain a little bit further about the historic significance of this property? Ms. Schrofa said, "You can take that down." I'm sorry.
Again, I'm not the listing agent, so I don't have that detail.
Well, you familiarized yourself with the property before you marketed it, right?
I didn't market the property. I'm not the listing agent.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Before you were going to sell it, correct?
Yes, I know about Crocker Mansion, but I'm not sure, where it's registered as far as historic value.
Did you know that it was registered as an historic?
Yes, it's on the documentation that we received.
Ms. Schrofa said, "Okay. And so if I could just bring 60612 back up just for the witness. And if you could just peruse the document, if you will. If I could have you look at page 1, maybe 2, 3. Do you recognize this form?"
No, I've never seen this form.
I know you may not have seen it. But do you know what a National Register of Historical Places registration form is?
I've never registered a home, historically.
Okay. But do you know what it means to be on the National Register of Historic Places?
Again, I'm familiar with registered homes as far as what you can do and what you can't do when a home is registered. But I can't answer to that.
Okay. And do you, sitting here today, recall the many ways that this home could be used as it was registered?
No. They had it listed as a residential home.
So do you remember if it was listed for more than one use?
No. Residential.
Ms. Schrofa said, "You can take that document down." So according to you, this home was only registered as a residential home. That's your.
Ms. Murray said, "Objection." Asked and answered.
The court said, "Sustained."
Do you? Oh, I'm sorry.
This was listed.
I think the judge sustained the objection, so you don't.
The court said, "Don't answer."
The witness said, "I'm sorry."
And sitting here today, Ms. Frosini, do you know if that house was in fact registered to be used as a social clubhouse?
No. It's residential.
I didn't ask you if it was residential or not. My question was, sitting here today, do you know if that house could be used as a social clubhouse?
Ms. Murray said, "Objection." Asked and answered.
The court said, "Sustained."
Did you familiarize yourself with the different uses this house could be put to before you sold it?
No.
Had you been trying to sell that house before being approached by the Taurus SB Fund?
No, before this time, no.
And when you started to sell, is it fair to say you wanted the house to sell?
Ms. Murray said, "Objection, Your Honor." Mischaracterizes. Ms. Frosini is the buyer, not the seller.
The court said, "So she's not representing the seller in the transaction, she's representing the buyer." Sustained.
You wanted somebody to buy the home, right?
I'm not the listing agent, so the seller wants the house to sell. I represented the buyer. Not the listing, not the seller. I didn't represent the seller.
Okay. You represented the buyer, right?
Correct.
Do you make any money if the house is bought?
Yes. The broker gets a commission.
Right. So if you're representing the buyer, you still want the house to be bought, right?
That's our business.
Exactly. How else are you going to make money, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you wanted to make sure that the buyer went ahead and bought, right?
I want the buyer to buy a house, if not from me, if it's right for the buyer.
And also it's good for you, right?
I can't answer my focus is on my clients, on my sellers and my buyers and what's best for them. I'm not looking at my pocket. This is my work, but I don't look at my pocket. I do the best for my sellers and buyers.
Okay. And when you want to make sure that you want to do the best for your buyer, you want to make sure you have all the information about the property, correct?
Correct.
You want to be accurate about what the buyer can put the property to use for, correct?
Correct, but I'm showing it as a residential home.
You think you're selling it as a residential home, correct?
Ms. Murray said, "Your Honor, objection." Again, mischaracterizes as the seller.
The court said, "So."
Ms. Schrofa said, "I'll rephrase, Your Honor."
The court said, "Yes."
The buyer did not ask to see a residential home, correct? The buyer asked to see a specific property?
The court said you may answer.
The home is listed on as a residential. It says it on the MLS, home. The buyer asked to see the two homes, yes.
The buyer asked to see the two properties.
The two properties, yes.
Correct? Never said homes, said properties, correct?
Ms. Murray said, "Objection, Your Honor. The witness is testifying, not Ms. Schroff."
The court said, so you can ask her whether the buyer used the word home or property.
The buyer used the word properties, correct?
I don't remember.
Okay. And let me show you again what is marked as Defense Exhibit 60612 just for identification. Ms. Schroff said, and if I could go to page 3 of 4. Your Honor, actually, could I just have one moment, please?
The court said yes, go ahead.
And do you recall if this property was called Crocker McMillan Mansion / Immaculate Conception Seminary? Ms. Schroff said, you can take that down, please.
I personally never saw that.
And sitting here today, do you know if various people have visited that property and that it was part of the marketing? That it was visited by certain people?
I didn't represent it for the seller, so I don't know who they showed the house to.
Okay. So because you're representing the buyer, you weren't really trying to sell, quote unquote, the property, correct?
I wasn't marketing it. I was working for the buyer, and if the buyer wanted the property, then absolutely, I helped the buyer purchase the property.
Fair enough. And do you know if the seller had ever marketed it as a place that made it clear it could be used as a social clubhouse?
Ms. Murray said, "Objection, Your Honor. How would Ms. Frosini know that?"
Ms. Schroff said, because she would interact with the seller and the seller's agent.
The court said, you may answer the question.
The seller, I don't know what he did with the house.
Fair enough. Ms. Schroff said, thank you. I have nothing further.
The court said redirect.
Ms. Murray said, "Thank you, Your Honor."
Redirect examination. By Ms. Murray.
Ms. Frosini, you were asked some questions on cross-examination about the Taurus Fund. Do you recall those?
Yes.
Who told you that the purchasing entity of the Crocker Mansion was the Taurus Fund SB?
Aaron Mitchell.
And what individuals did Aaron Mitchell introduce you to in connection with the purchase of the Crocker Mansion?
The Gov't family.
Ms. Murray said, "Ms. Loftus, if we could please pull up Government Exhibit 1101 at page 8. Focusing on the first Aaron Mitchell text, Ms. Frosini. This is a question regarding the purchasing entity for the Crocker Mansion. Is that correct?"
Ms. Schroff said, objection, Your Honor. Beyond the scope.
The court said, overruled. You may answer.
What Aaron said he needed to check to see who was going to be, yes, the purchasing entity.
And do you know with whom, if anyone? In the UK, Aaron Mitchell checked to find out the name of the purchasing entity?
No.
Ms. Murray said, "Thank you, Your Honor." Nothing further.
Ms. Schroff said, may I, Your Honor?
The court said you may.
Ms. Schroff said, could you put that back up, please? Thank you. Can we make it larger?
Recross examination. By Ms. Schroff.
You're texting back and forth with Aaron Mitchell, correct?
Correct.
Aaron, please call me. T-checks. That's you texting?
Yes.
And then he texts you back, correct?
Correct.
December 1st, 2021?
Correct.
At 5:47 p.m.?
Correct.
Need to speak to someone in UK Re. Purchasing entity.
That's what Aaron said.
What's an entity?
Because I had asked.
What's an entity?
Entity who's purchasing the property, the home.
It's not a person, correct?
Correct.
It's not an individual, correct?
Correct.
And he says, we'll get back to you tomorrow, and he's going to talk to someone in the UK?
Yes, correct.
And you say, thanks Aaron, correct?
Correct.
Nothing further from you on that topic, correct?
Correct.
No question who's the entity, correct?
Correct.
Nothing at all about the purchasing entity, correct?
Correct.
Ms. Schrofa said, nothing further.
Ms. Murray said, just briefly, Your Honor.
Redirect examination. By Ms. Murray.
Ms. Frosini, do you know where William J. lives?
William J.E.?
Ms. Schrofa said, objection. Beyond the scope.
The court said, overruled. You may answer it.
Excuse me. Who?
William J.E.
No.
Ms. Murray said, thank you.
Nothing further.
Ms. Schrofa said, I have one more question, Your Honor.
Recross examination. By Ms. Schrofa.
Do you even know who William J. is?
Know you. Witness. Hand.
Ms. Schrofa said, all right. Thank you.
The court said, all righty. So you may step out. Thank.
The witness said, thank you.
The court said, and the government may call its next.
Witness excused.